Why do people bring up the sex romantic lives of guys who do mass shootings and say they get no women? People bring it up because the shooters themselves say that's the reason why they committed their crimes. That isn't the only reason why some men do mass shootings, but incels are a hot topic online. Same reason they bring up religion when someone blows themselves up to murder people. That was their motivation. Incel mass shootings have become the new big thing. The link between mass shooters and domestic violence. The Crime Reports: thecrimereport.org 20,200,713. The link between mass shooters and domestic violence: text equals new 20 investigative 20 reporting 20 has 20 revealed 20 that 20 almost 2,060 males 20 with 20 20 history 20 of 20 violence 20 against 20 women. Quote from study. The analysis of 749 mass shootings showed that 36% were committed by males with a history of violence against women. Additionally, some 46% of the shootings involved actual incidents of domestic violence and, according to the report, about 60% were either or both. Because they literally say it's their motive in a lot of cases. Even when their motive is something else, like racism, they are still in the center of a giant Venn diagram of 4chan horseshit, racism, homophobia, transphobia, antisemitism, and incel shit. You can't fall down any of those rabbit holes without tumbling through the others too. People who commit mass shootings are not sane people. Often, they are incredibly unstable and something puts them over the edge. Unstable people tend not to take care of themselves or act in a really creepy way. A disheveled stinky person who asks a woman out while leering at the chest, woman says no. Unstable man snaps, writes down how all women are vile, evil, manipulative, and prostitutes while he is a good guy. Then he goes and shoots a bunch of people, usually dies in the process or removes themselves. After the event, people try to understand why, so we can try to stop the next person before they get to the mass murder, as they usually don't go from nothing wrong to mass murder. Because incel ideology is, increasingly, a clear danger of violence. Several mass shooters have made manifesto letters videos where they express anger at whores who wouldn't have sex with them. The men who commit these shootings have often made that subject relevant themselves, in their manifestos or in their online activity. Their self-perceived failure as men is often part of the motivation for their actions. I think it's better not to anger OP guys. Look at his profile. Abuse of women in intimate relationships is the single biggest indicator of school shooters and mass murderers. Because only fucking losers with no life shoot innocent people. The incel narrative. It's factually accurate that many of the mass shooter types don't have partners and/or had toxic traits that would have driven women away. Folks might also be taking advantage of the easy punching bag. Mass shooters don't really deserve sympathy to let loose with their own toxic ideas, like guys who can't get a girl are always fucking losers. There always has to be a reason. Horror films, heavy metal, violent video games, and now they are an incel. Can't be just because they are deranged nutcases with a heavy psychopathic bent. That frame is off, just by a bit. It's how they view it themselves. However, domestic violence is almost always a precursor to mass shootings. Because there is a staggering amount of men who are incels or either have incel-adjacent beliefs who carry out mass shootings or other crimes motivated by their ideology, like Chris Harper Mercer, Ben Moynihan stabbing spree, William Atchison, Nicholas Cruz, Alec Minishin intentionally drove a van through a crowd, Scott Barrel, and many others. A quick skim through the comments of this post, and I didn't see anybody remarking on your comments history. But maybe it's in one of the replies to a top level or something, but dude, either you said something or you didn't. A poster's history is fair game for the discussion, especially for sussing out whether someone is a troll, looks like a bot, advertising their OnlyFans, proselytizes, whatever. It's really great for when you're trying to be kind to someone having a bad time. You can point out things they've said in the past that paint them a better light. It helps. Nothing is forcing you to engage with people who reply or take their comments to heart. Editing your main post to yell at the crowd is pointless. It doesn't strengthen your argument or make anyone feel bad. Ever notice how in contentious posts OP replies are downvoted a lot? That's usually because they get argumentative in the replies. You asked a question, that was my answer, and if you get combative about the answers, well, people don't like a bully. Other people gave good answers to your question, because the shooters say so. There have been a couple of instances where mass shooters said in manifestos or statements that the attacks were because they were outraged at not being able to have a relationship or to have sex with women and for being rejected. The incel manoverse internet community has plenty of parallels with ultra-conservative, paramilitary groups that want an uprising that puts women back in the kitchen as objects to be used and owned, and without the right to refuse sex, terminate unwanted pregnancies, own property, or to vote. People want to understand how an outwardly normal person can do something so awful. Any history or trait is up for grabs and says more about what the writer believes than what the perpetrator believes. Other things that have been scrutinized about criminals: upbringing, gun ownership, fetish, music preference, media preference, gaming preference, church preference, circle of friends. Because we men are so fragile that mass murder suicide is preferable to getting exercise, taking a shower, smiling, occasionally treating women like people. Usually the manifesto, because every incel and dude that thinks this is falling down wants to make their shortcomings and failures everyone else's problem.